of the Iowa FFA Association. Today we will hear the financial report, gather input from our 2018 state committees, conduct the official business of the Iowa FFA, and hear from the 2018 State Officer Nominating Committee, who will ballot your 2018-2019 Iowa FFA officers. As delegates, not only do you have the opportunity, but also the obligation to select the students who are committed, capable, and dedicated to living a life of service. The 9 people you select today will log thousands of hours in behind-the-scenes work, travel thousands of miles along Iowa's roadways, and manage their time and talents in order to best serve the more than 15,200 Iowa FFA members. Before we begin, there is one person that we must recognize. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the parliamentarian for the business session, Mr. Jack Cook. Before you are able to cast your vote of influence, we must secure an accurate count of delegates. The total number of votes must equal the total number of delegates. Please be patient as the coordinators get an accurate delegate count. Coordinators, please report to the secretary's desk once you are finished.
We're going to act like we're talking about something.
Madam Secretary, do you have an accurate count of the delegates?
I do. There are 399 delegates from 200 chapters present.
The courtesy corps will now secure the delegate floor. If you must leave the delegate floor at any time, you must be escorted by a member of the courtesy corps and check in and out with the secretary's desk. If you wish to speak during the business session, please stand to be recognized. When you receive recognition from the chair, an officer or coordinator will greet you with a microphone so you can be heard. Please state your chapter and your name so it may be recorded in the minutes. Once again, please state your chapter and your name so it may be recorded in the minutes. At this time, I invite the Iowa FFA Secretary, Peyton Schmidt, to the podium to present the minutes of the 89th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference.
The delegate business session was called to order by President Elissa Russ at 10:01 a.m. on Monday, April 10, 2017. Roll call of delegates was taken and showed 400 delegates present representing 201 chapters. Mr. Jack Cook served as the official parliamentarian for the delegate business session. The 2016-2017 Iowa FFA Secretary Chase Kuzel read the minutes of the 88th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference. Kuzel moved to accept the minutes as read. The motion passed by general consent. Mr. Scott Johnson, Iowa FFA Executive Secretary and Treasurer, presented the Iowa FFA Association Financial Report. Mercedes Neeson of Red Oak FFA moved to accept the financial report. Morgan Lauer of the North Fayette Valley FFA chapter seconded the motion. The motion passed. Auditing Committee Chair Danica Tyndall of the Akron Westfield FFA chapter presented the committee report. Tyndall moved to accept the report with an implied second. The motion passed. Program of Activities Committee Chair Greta Schmidt of the Mid-Prairie FFA chapter read the committee report. Schmidt moved to accept the report with an implied second. The motion passed. The Iowa FFA Association Board of Directors and Executive Committee proposed an amendment to the Iowa FFA Constitution, Article 5, Section E, Iowa FFA degree, Part 1C. A student after entering agricultural education must have 1, earned and productively invested at least $1,500, or 2, worked at least 375 hours in excess of scheduled class time, or 3, a combination thereof, in a supervised agricultural experience program. The proposed amendment passed by a vote of 361 to 18. Montana Krogman of the Northeast FFA chapter at Goose Lake moved to set the Iowa FFA Association member dues for the 2017-2018 year at $7.50 per member. Joe Kinkle of the Avoca FFA chapter seconded the motion. The motion passed. Nominating Committee Chair Caleb Bartling of the AGWSR FFA chapter presented the nominating committee report. Bartling presented the ballot for the 2017-2018 state officer candidates. Russ asked for nominations from the floor. 0 nominations were made. Bartling moved to accept the nominating committee report with an implied second. The motion passed. Elections were held for president, secretary, and reporter. The delegates were then directed to their district breakout sessions of Hilton Coliseum, where the elections of the state vice presidents were held. The election results were as follows. For the office of president, Zach Hamilton of the Northeast FFA chapter at Goose Lake was voted in over Savannah Keitzer of the Mediapolis FFA chapter. For the office of secretary, Peyton Schmidt of the Lone Tree FFA chapter was voted in over Spencer Arnold of the Lone Tree FFA chapter. For the office of reporter, Annie Wallen of the Brokaw FFA chapter at Clarinda was voted in over Marta Grant of the Easton Valley FFA chapter. For the office of South Central Vice President, Cassie Bond of the Earlham FFA chapter was voted in over Amy Ewing of the Wayne FFA chapter. For the office of Northwest Vice President, Carly Graw of the Newell Fonda FFA chapter was voted in over Grace Renz of the Central Lyon FFA chapter. For the office of Northeast Vice President, Rachel Zumbaugh of the Northland FFA chapter at Troy Mills was voted in over Jake Halas of the North Tama FFA chapter. For the office of Southwest State Vice President, Caleb Finnegan of the ACGC FFA chapter was voted in over Ashlyn Lingle of the IKM Manning FFA chapter. For the office of Southeast Vice President, Chase Brenniger of the AgriPower FFA chapter was voted in over Rebecca France of the Mid-Prairie FFA chapter. For the office of North Central Vice President, Allie Babcock of the Gilbert FFA chapter was voted in. The session adjourned at 12:26 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Chase Kuzel, Iowa FFA Association, 2016-2017 State Secretary.
Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, the minutes of the previous convention stand approved as presented. In your packets, you received the financial report of the Iowa FFA Association. At this time, Mr. Johnson, or Mr. Scott Johnson, Executive Secretary and Treasurer of the Iowa FFA Association, will present the financial report.
Good morning. Each chapter should have a financial report at their respective seats. Starting with the front page, you'll notice some changes in the account balances, and the money market account has been zeroed out. This is because the Great Southern Bank account, which is the first line, is our operating account for deposits and expenditures. The cash balance there has enough for us to cash flow, therefore the money market is not needed as a catch net, and we rolled that money into the CD to earn a higher interest rate. On page 2, pages 2 and 3, if you open up, you'll see them on the left and right side, shows a breakdown by the account code, shows the actual 12-month period ending and month-end February of 2018, shows the previous year month-end ending of February of 2017, and then the budgeted amount. So you can compare the first column on the left with the last column on the right, our running year totals with what was budgeted for that year. I'll give you a minute to review those figures. If you turn to page 4 of the account, you'll see a mostly white page that shows the totals from the previous 2 pages. You'll notice that those numbers do not sit in parentheses, which means that we're running at a net positive balance for operations from the previous 2 years and for what we budgeted, and the numbers for the previous 2 years in actual are greater than the budget, so we're actually being efficient with what we budget in our operations for the current year and for the previous year. The next 2 pages then are a program management report. The names of the programs you should be able to recognize as opposed to the previous 2 pages by the accounts. So this is a report by FFA activity. Once again, you can take a look at the revenue expenses and then the net income loss for the current year, which is the middle column in this case, and compare it to the budgeted column on the far right. I'll give you a minute to review those figures now at this time. In summary, generally speaking here, FFA membership is up. That creates an additional revenue stream for dues and fees. Convention attendance has been solid and has grown as well. That also serves as another revenue stream. And Iowa FFA Foundation support through sponsorships has also increased. So long story short, we've continued to pick up the revenues needed for operations, and that has been ahead of any expenditures associated with delivering programs, and we'll continue to do what we can to deliver quality programming. Are there any questions from the delegation at this time? Thank you.
I will now entertain a motion to accept the Iowa FFA Association financial report as presented. The chair recognizes the delegate from the Northeast District.
George Hefner, Vinton Shellsburg FFA. I move to accept the financial report for this previous year.
Thank you. Is there a second? The chair recognizes the delegate from the Southeast District.
David Knapp from the Marengo FFA chapter. I second that motion.
Thank you. It has been properly moved and seconded that we accept the 2017-2018 Iowa FFA Association financial report as presented. Are there any questions or clarifications? Hearing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thank you. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. Motion carries. We will now hear from the Auditing Committee. These individuals spent the morning crunching numbers and making sure the Iowa FFA Association will remain financially sound for this coming year. Madam Secretary, will you please read the names of the members of the Auditing Committee?
Will you please step forward as your name is read? Byron Hahn of Mediapolis. Dakota Powell of OABCIG. Cami Bishop of Akron Westfield. Caleb Lines of Nashua Plainfield. Keegan Kelry of East Buchanan. Nick Edwards of Ballard. Allie Larson of Forest City. Katie York of Atlantic. Avery Cron of Mid-Prairie. Delaney Bope of Shenandoah. Blake Courtney of Decorah. Gavin Branderhorst of Diamond Trail.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. To give the report of the Auditing Committee, please welcome Committee Chairperson Byron Hahn of the Mediapolis FFA chapter.
We, the Auditing Committee, recommend the following changes to the Board of Directors. We recommend that the Budget Committee look at the following areas to ensure the correct amount is budgeted for general materials, postage expense, utilities, and travel expenses. With possible future staff changes, we recommend adding more in the budget for legal expenses. Work with DMAC to better budget for utilities next year. We commend the association for increasing the revenue of the milk sales at the Iowa State Fair. We commend the association for being able to save more and more money each year throughout the budget. I move to approve the Auditing Committee report, respectfully submitted, Byron Hahn, Mediapolis. Mr. President, I move to accept the committee report.
Thank you. Since this is a committee report, it carries an implied second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Thank you. Motion carries. Byron, thank you for your work and leadership. As a token of our appreciation, I present you with this conference t-shirt. A program of activities is an essential part of the success of every chapter. Not only does it provide direction from year to year, but it also defines chapter goals and purposes. Just as every chapter outlines a program of activities, the Iowa FFA Association has members from across the state define and outline activities of the Iowa FFA. Madam Secretary, will you please read the names of the members of the Program of Activities Committee?
Would you please step forward as your name is read? Erica Jeans of Wapsie Valley. Chase Krug of Linn-Mar. Natalie Jeffson of Forest City. Hannah Stimson of Clay Central Everly. Libby Ross, Grundy Center. Kara DeWall of Webster. Nathan Modernock of Osceola Big Chief. Anna Russell of Ballard. Holly Nelson of Fairfield. Katie Spolstra of North Mahaska. Corey Pelzer of Atlantic, and Mariah Gorham of Carroll area.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. To give the report of the Program of Activities Committee, please welcome Committee Chairperson Erica Jeans of the Wapsie Valley FFA Chapter.
The Program of Activities, we request that the CDE judges have the training and materials needed at all levels of competition. We appreciate and want to continue to encourage middle school participation in conferences such as the Discovery Conference. We would like to see chapter officer leadership training promote the practical officer skills such as officer books, POA, minutes, and building the connection as an officer team. And finally, provide the chapter officers with information and materials on the new committee structure. We recommend that 212-360 conference tie in character building with promoting chapter success and continuously encourage members who are not officers to participate in their chapter through committee work, and finally have a better balance of content and engaging activities. Finally, our committee would like to keep seeing the promotion of service during state convention and National FFA Week, and that the state FFA increase the knowledge at SLCDO about district bonding activities. Mr. President, I move to accept the Program of Activities report as read.
Thank you. Since this is a committee report, it carries an implied second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Thank you. Motion carries. Erica, thank you for your time and commitment and effort as the leader of your committee. As a token of our appreciation, I present you with this conference t-shirt. Please thank the members who have been instrumental in the business of the Iowa FFA Association through their service on a committee one more time. At this time, we now move to new business. Please direct your attention to the screen. The Board of Directors of the Iowa FFA Association voted to recommend amending Article 7, Officers, Section B, by striking majority after elected annually by, and inserting a combination of 2/5 the nominating committee score and 3/5 of the new section would read, district officers shall be elected annually by a combination of 2/5 of the nominating committee score and 3/5 of the vote of delegates present at a regular district meeting with the majority of active chapters in the district present. We'll give you 2 minutes to review the amendment either on the screen or on the handout that was on your seat when you arrived to the delegate floor. This motion is debatable, amendable, and requires a 2/3 majority vote. Since this is a recommendation of the board, it carries an implied second. Before we open this up for discussion, I will once again clarify. This amendment would make it so district officers are elected by a combination of 3/5 of the election of delegates present and 2/5 of the nominating committee score. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. Oh, we do have discussion. The chair recognizes the delegate from the Northwest District.
I'm Trent Moeller with the Ridgeview FFA chapter. I have a few things to say about this and a few things I would like my fellow members to think about before we make this decision. From my understanding, the nominating committee will gain a lot more power if this passes. I'm aware that the nominating committee spends more time with the members running for office, but is giving them a vote necessary. We will not only be giving the committee a vote, but the whole committee will account for 2/5 of the final vote. That would mean that a person on the nominating committee's vote is worth 7 times more than the vote that I will be casting. I'm not opposed to giving them a little more power, but the entire committee has the opportunity to swing an entire vote their way. As an FFA member, I have always been very proud of being a part of an organization that is voted on and ran by its members. If we vote yes on this, we are voting to give a large portion of our voting say away. How can we, as FFA members, be so proud of having a say in what happens in our organization if we give a huge chunk of it away? I understand that the state elections are held in such a way, but why, as a district, do we have to do things exactly as the state? If we have a system that works for us, why change it?
Thank you.
Wait, I'm not done. Sorry.
You're fine.
Before all of you vote on this, I just ask that you think about what are you voting on. I hope that you are all aware that voting yes on this is giving members say away. I am okay with maybe someday adjusting the way we vote on things and giving a little more power to the nominating committee. As of now, though, I feel that this whole decision has not been very informed to the people and grants a substantial amount of power to the committee and away from us delegates. I advise all of my fellow members to vote no on this today. If they want to make a change, let them take a step back, look at all of the possibilities, and then propose a better solution, if there is one, next year. Let's make sure we are all okay with this before we just vote this through and regret it later. Let's keep being proud of the members' say in our organization instead of giving it away. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? The chair recognizes the delegate from the South Central District.
State your name and chapter, and then you can go.
My name is Joseph Jordan, and I'm from the Ballard FFA chapter. On this subject, I believe yes, that it is also important to have the members of the FFA vote for people for district office, but also there is also needed guidance on what we need to vote for instead of having it as a quote-unquote popularity contest. Maybe we'll have insight from the nominating committee of they've put in their time and their work other than someone who would, not to bring offense to anybody, but someone who would just be popular. So someone who correctly fits the office is also, we need that guidance from the nominating committee, I believe.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Discussion. Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. As we need 2/3 majority vote, we must get an accurate count. All those in favor, please signify by standing and stay standing until our staff have counted you. You may stand. All those opposed, please stand and stay standing until our staff have counted you. With a vote of 306 in favor and 91 against, the motion passes. Moving on, I will now entertain a motion to set state dues at $7.50 again for the 2018-2019 school year.
I'm Walker McDermott from the CAM FFA chapter. Mr. President, I move to set dues at $7.50 for the 2018-2019 school year.
Thank you. Is there a second? The chair recognizes the delegate from the South Central District.
I'm Taylor Adams from the North Polk FFA chapter, and I second the motion.
Thank you. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of setting state dues at $7.50 for the 2018-2019 school year, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Thank you. Motion passes. For 12 FFA members, last week was filled with interviews, essays, analyzing applications, calculating results, and making decisions. The members of the 2018 Iowa FFA Nominating Committee chose to spend 3 days prior to convention choosing the 18 candidates who are most able to serve the Iowa FFA. Please welcome 12 incredibly influential Iowa FFA members, the 2018 State Nominating Committee. Will you please step forward as your name is read?
Jackson Mulnix of Lone Tree. Grace Hill of Ballard. Anna Babcock, Gilbert. Grace Christensen, Audubon. Tatum Kaler of North Fayette Valley at West Union. Lauren Michaels of Linn-Mar. Brooklyn Toth of Westwood at Sloan. Allie Crum of East Sac at Lakeview. McKenna Worrell of North Mahaska. Devin DeVore of Osceola Big Chief. Luke Comas of Atlantic. Luke Fevold of Nevada.
I now call Jackson Molinix, chair of the 2018 Iowa FFA Nominating Committee, to the podium to read the Iowa FFA State Officer Candidate Ballot.
From April 17th through April 19th, the nominating committee met to interview and evaluate the candidates that were to be considered for the following positions on the state officer ballot. The ballot for elections of the 2018-2019 Iowa FFA officers are as follows. For the office of Northeast Vice President, Jay Kalas and Mitch Reckles. For the office of Northwest Vice President, Rachel Finling and Cole Ryman. For the office of South Central Vice President, Chandler Johnner and Lindsay Myers. For the office of North Central Vice President, Alexis Birdie and Lauren Mosier. For the office of Northwest Vice President, Katie France and Lane Morrison. For the office of South Central Vice President, Gwen Black and Maggie Moss. For the office of Reporter, Cody Holdeman and Jody Mauser. For the office of Secretary, Lakin Molinex and Stephanie Naranjo. For the office of President, C.D. Brenniger and Caleb Finnegan. Mr. President, I move to accept the nominating committee report as read.
Since this is a committee report, there is an implied second. I will now call for nominations from the floor. Only those individuals who have submitted an application and completed the interview process are eligible to be nominated. I remind you that the members of the 2018 State Nominating Committee have spent many in-depth hours interviewing, analyzing, and balloting the most qualified candidates to serve on the 2018-2019 Iowa FFA State Officer Team. Please respect their work. With that, I will call for nominations for all offices. Are there any nominations for any office? Nominations, nominations, nominations cease. The chair of the committee will make a correction to his report.
Correction. For the office of Southeast Vice President, Lane Morrison and Katie France.
Thank you. We will now proceed to vote on the nominating committee report as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. All those opposed, say nay. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Jackson, for all your efforts and the time that you and the committee have given to the selection of this year's state officer candidate ballot. Please accept this conference t-shirt as a token of our appreciation. From this point forward, it is vital that each delegate follows the instructions given in order for the election process to be completed in as efficient a manner as possible. At this time, Savannah Keitzer will escort all balloted officer candidates to the holding area. We will now have the election of the 2018-2019 Iowa FFA State Officer Team. We will first vote on the offices of President, Secretary, Reporter. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes to speak and then ask questions. To maintain fairness, the same individuals must ask candidates the same questions. The individuals who will be asking the questions to the at-large officer state officer candidates have already been selected. One reminder, there will be no applause after candidates have given their speech or answered their questions. Will those delegates selected to ask questions of the candidates please go to the Secretary's desk at this time? Will the first candidate for president be escorted to the stage? The first candidate for the office of president is C.D. Brinegar of the AgriPower FFA chapter. C.D., you will have 2 minutes to speak. You may begin.
My first wrestling match, my junior year. Correction, my first wrestling match ever. I walked out to the middle of the mat, stuck out my hand, shook hands with my opponent. We started grappling. We went back, we went forth, we went back, we went forth. Bang! Got taken down. But it wasn't me. I got taken down and pinned. I walked off the mat to meet my coach in our corner. He shook my hand, gave me a hug, and said, a Dan Gable quote, "I never lose, I only learn." Now, at first I thought, what a dumb quote. I just got beat. After another 15 pins and countless more losses, I slowly began to realize what that quote meant. You learn from successes and failures. You build off of the negative and the positive. You learn what not to do and what to do. Over this past year, I've gotten the opportunity to serve as Southeast State Vice President. I would like to take the knowledge of the successes and failures to help grow the Iowa FFA State Officer Team and the Iowa FFA. So please, vote me, Chase C.D. Brinegar, your 2018-2019 State President.
Thank you. Please escort the first candidate back to the holding area. Reminder that there is no applause. The second candidate for the office of president is Caleb Finnegan from the ACGC FFA chapter. Caleb, you will have 2 minutes to speak. You may begin.
How many of us don't like sitting at red lights for what seems like an eternity? I mean, no matter if I'm in rural Iowa or downtown Des Moines, these lights seem to never change colors. One night this past fall, I was making my way back home when I swear I hit every single red light in between Pella and Guthrie Center. Now this drive is about a 2-hour drive. As I was sitting at that last stoplight in Grimes, it all hit me. When we put this blue jacket on, there's nothing that holds us back from achieving and trying new things. FFA turns those red lights green and allows us to explore the countless opportunities. During our time in FFA, we're the creators and drivers of our own paths. We get to decide when to turn right, when to turn left, when to go straight ahead, and when to turn around. All while doing this, we get to discover the endless opportunities that FFA has to offer. FFA also has a bunch of streets, boulevards, and avenues. One of my favorite streets is an avenue called Service. While on this avenue, FFA members can advocate for agriculture, help others, and most importantly, leave this organization better than we found it. During my time in FFA, you could usually catch me cruising down this avenue. From helping organize my chapter's pancake breakfast as a freshman to facilitating 212 conference this past fall while on crutches. I haven't let anything hold me back from serving others. Standing in front of you today, I asked you 2 questions. What's something new that you want to try in FFA? And what's holding you back from trying that new thing? As your 2018-2019 Iowa FFA president, I, Caleb Finnegan, will make sure that your red lights always turn green so you can explore new adventures and always reach your destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Will the first candidate please be escorted back to the stage? We will now have 4 questions for the president candidates. A question will be asked to a specific candidate. The candidate will answer the question. When complete, the second candidate will answer the question. You will have 1 minute to answer each question.
CD, if elected to office, what would be your main goal?
My main goal, if elected office, is to build off of the foundation that's already in place. We've done a lot of work over the past 5, 10, 15 years, but there's been a lot of work done this year to make sure that we keep data and accurate records so that next year when we hold events, there's no guess and check method. It's very black and white. You have the data. You know how many people were there last year, the year before, and the year before that. So I guess my main goal would be to help build that foundation for future teams and on throughout the Iowa FFA.
Caleb, if elected to office, what would be your main goal?
If elected to the office of president, my main goal would be to preserve our tradition we have while still changing and adapting to what's coming ahead of us. Our organization is one of the most recognizable brands in the whole world. Our tradition carries back so far that even 75-year-old grandpas and grandmas have jackets hanging in their closets today. It's important to keep that in mind when making changes for the future. That way we can preserve what we have and what we've built upon.
Caleb, what makes you more qualified to be a state officer than the other candidate on the ballot?
My top 5 strengths are analytical, competition, achiever, focus, and learner. My last 3, achiever, focus, and learner, during my years as state officer, I've really understood how to use all 3 of those together. When I use those 3 together, I can look at something, visualize something, make sure that I want to see it, so I can focus in on what I want to get. My achiever kicks in so I can achieve that, and then my learner kicks in. Throughout the whole process of planning it with my analytical, I learn along the way to make sure that the next time we do it, or when I have to pass it on or do it again, you learn from it throughout the process.
CD, what makes you more qualified to be a state officer than the other candidate on the ballot?
So, like Caleb, we all had to take a strength test. So my top 3 are belief, responsibility, and adaptability. Belief, very simply, if I believe in it, I'm going to stand up for it. Like the FFA, something I believe very strongly in, I feel very passionate about. Second off, responsibility. Whenever I get dealt a task, I promise I'm going to do it, and I stick to my word no matter what. And my last one is probably my most favorite, is adaptability. So really there isn't any sort of spur of the moment type situation that doesn't take me off guard. I'm very comfortable with things that we need to change last moment. So if there's a change in a script or something, I feel comfortable with those adaptability traits that I possess.
CD, define character and tell us about yours.
So I think character is, well, as a football coach once said, character is what a man does in the dark, or what somebody does when nobody's looking. I believe that either you're picking up trash on the side of the road or you're doing the right thing. You're always leading by example. I try to always follow my visual representation I have. I always try to be the person who would I look up to, pick up the trash, do the right thing, treat others the way that I'd want to be treated. So I believe that my character follows my definition of it.
Caleb, define character and tell us about yours.
I think character is something that you're born with, but that you can adapt throughout your life by the people who you surround yourself with. This past year, I've had the amazing opportunity to meet FFA members and develop lifelong mentors that I will forever be grateful for. These mentors have helped me over the past year in developing my character by constantly being there for me when I needed help with something, or when I was having a panic attack, or just stressing out about the little things such as school. FFA members from across the state this year have shown me how they can go all out for what they do and improve this organization.
Caleb, at what point did you realize you wanted to run for state office?
So my decision to run for state president was kind of a threefold, or there's about 3 things that happened to me when I decided I wanted to run for state president. In January, I was working with a candidate for my school for district office, and when she was asked the question who her biggest role model was, she said my name and then explained why. First off, that impact that it had on me. She was a sophomore. I got to spend 1 year with her in high school. Just knowing that I could have that impact with her 1 year together while in high school really amazed me. The second thing that happened was this past March at my district advisor's banquet. He had a gavel made to commemorate my service as the Southwest State Vice President. Gave me the gavel, and to me that was kind of a sign of, hey, you did it. Like, you're doing the right stuff in the world, and you're moving on. And then my third step was just finally me committing to it and doing a lot of reflections on the past year.
CD, at what point did you realize you wanted to run for state office?
So it was along about 2/12/360 time in January. We had a packed house again, and meeting everybody who came to 212 and 360 was a blast. But really, I can't just pinpoint it to that one moment. Throughout this entire year, being able to go on chapter visits, meet members, I really want to continue what I've done this year and to continue to build and work. So meeting the members and seeing what all you guys have accomplished has helped me realize that I want to keep running and keep serving this organization.
Thank you. Please escort the presidential candidates back to the holding area. We will now vote on the office of president. Nominating committee members will distribute ballots for the office of president. As a reminder, the candidates were Chase C.D. Brinegar from the ACGC FFA chapter, Chase C.D. Brinegar from the AgriPower FFA chapter, and Caleb Finnegan from the ACGC FFA chapter. Please be respectful while voting by not discussing with other delegates. Please cast your ballot at this time. Will the district representatives please collect the ballots? Delegates, you may fold the ballots once, please. Thank you.
The Secretary's desk has one announcement at this time. Would the Maquoketa Valley and North Fayette Valley advisors please go to the convention office? Again, the Maquoketa Valley and North Fayette Valley advisors, please report to the convention office. Thank you.
Will the first candidate for secretary be escorted to the stage? The first candidate for the office of secretary is Lakin Molnix from the Akron Westfield FFA chapter. Lakin, you will have 2 minutes to speak. You may begin.
2 million people die each year from dehydration. Why does it matter if the glass is half empty or half full? Fellow members, we live in a world where opportunity is everything, and our mindset can change the situation. We are fortunate enough to put on the blue jacket, giving us the opportunity to make a difference. Look behind the stage, where we are packaging thousands of meals for people in need. Or talk to somebody who's been to WLC and ask them about their service project. The corduroy on our backs has shaped lives for generations, changing shy kids into confident speakers and helping members see their potential in a new light. I'm standing before you today because of leaders before me who inspired me to go for these goals. Though our state association is in great hands, no matter how elections go today, I would love the opportunity to serve you for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Please escort the first candidate back to the holding area. Will the second candidate for the office of secretary please be escorted to the stage? The second candidate for the office of secretary is Stephanie Naranjo of the Belmont Clemmy FFA chapter. Stephanie, you will have 2 minutes to present your speech. You may begin.
The pursuit of happiness. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams. You have got to believe in yourself. If you want something in life, you have to go and get it. My time in the FFA has led me to stand here in front of each and every one of you. Now, I've made some great memories in the FFA, and one of my most favorite memories was serving as a group leader at the great Iowa State Fair in an experience that we like to call being a grandstand usher. Now, if you've ever been to a concert, we're those people in bright yellow shirts that direct guests towards their seats. And during the day, we like to have loads of fun. My favorite time is when we all go and grab our bedspreads, tie each other up in togas, and go around the whole fair chanting, toga, toga, toga. And whilst we look crazy to all of those around us, it's in those moments when we're laughing with our friends, not letting a single person bring us down, that we achieve pure happiness. Now, I'm sure each and every one of you can think of a similar time like mine, whether it was with our friends, our family, or our advisors. Those moments are irreplaceable. Now, I could stand up here and tell you all the reasons why I want to be your state officer. But the true reason is that I want to share those irreplaceable, pure happiness moments with each and every one of you. Vote Stephanie Naranjo as your 2018-2019 State FFA Secretary, and together we can achieve pure happiness.
Thank you. Will the first candidate for the office of secretary please be escorted back to the stage? We will now have 2 questions for the secretary candidates. A question will be asked to a specific candidate. The candidate will answer the question. When complete, the second candidate will answer the question. You will have 1 minute to answer each question.
Lakin, if elected to office, what would be your main goal?
I think my main goal, if I were to be elected to office, would be to include all members. From my standpoint, when I first joined FFA, I was really scared I wouldn't be able to get involved. And then I had some really great state officers who inspired me to keep going with the FFA. So my goal would be to be approachable to everybody, be everybody's friend, and make sure everybody knows what all FFA has to offer.
Stephanie, if elected to office, what would be your main goal?
As a state officer, I believe that it's very important, like Lakin said, to build those relationships with members. Our organization is founded on building those connections with each and every member. I would sit down and through my year of service, I would make sure to push you to your full potential and so that you can personally grow and meet all of your guys' goals.
Stephanie, what makes you more qualified to be a state officer than the other candidate on the ballot?
I believe that each of us have something to bring to the table. The work that I've done in this organization has really grown and really put a passion and a drive for me to serve those around me. I truly want to live a life of service, and if this opportunity allows me to do so, then so may be it. But you don't need a title to serve. Even if I were to get state office, going around and helping out in different FFA events or simply being that person that someone needs to talk to is what I would do.
Lakin, what makes you more qualified to be a state officer than the other candidate on the ballot?
I believe that coming in as a freshman, never being in FFA before, never knowing about FFA, I don't have any relatives in it, gave me an advantage now because I know what it feels like to be in that position and I know how to approach those members and get them involved. I can really relate to how scary it is to not really know what's going on, and I just understand what it's like to relate to them instead of being someone who's had FFA in their family for generations and already knows how everything works.
Thank you. Please escort the candidates back to the holding area. We will now vote on the office of secretary. Nominating committee members, please distribute the ballots for the office of secretary. As a reminder, the candidates were Lakin Molinix from the Akron Westfield FFA chapter and Stephanie Naranjo from the Belmont Clemmy FFA chapter. Once again, please be respectful while voting by not conferring with other delegates. Please cast your ballot at this time. Will the nominating committee please collect the ballots? Thank you. Will the first candidate for the office of reporter be escorted to the stage? The first candidate for the office of reporter is Cody Holdeman of the Pella FFA chapter. Cody, you will have 2 minutes to speak. You may begin.
Close your eyes. Imagine you are out walking your lambs and you faint. 5 days later, you are lying in the emergency room, unable to stand up on your own and helpless. Open your eyes. That was me this past summer, and that nightmare lasted for 4 days. I lost hope for a full 24 hours lying in Blank Children's Hospital thinking that I would just stay there for the rest of my life. Then, I moved my leg. This was a huge accomplishment because 2 days prior, I couldn't move at all. It was right then I realized that in order to leave this hospital and go enjoy senior year, I had to give everything I had and put all of my energy into getting healthy again. I have taken what I have learned from this past summer and I've applied it to everything I do. I've learned that it's the simplest of tasks that add up to the biggest accomplishments. I've learned that in order to achieve your dreams, you have to give everything you have in order to become successful. I'm standing in front of you right now. I just achieved my dream. What's yours? What do you want to accomplish? I'm Cody Holdeman, and you should vote me as your 2018-2019 Iowa State Reporter, and I will strive to help members like you across this great state to go out and move your leg and to take that next step towards achieving your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you. Please escort the first candidate back to the holding area. Will the second candidate for the office of reporter please be escorted to the stage? The second candidate for the office of reporter is Jody Mauser of the East Buchanan FFA chapter. Jody, you will have 2 minutes to present your speech. You may begin.
Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. Have you ever thought about how you have gotten where you are today? Or the people that you have met and the relationships you have built? With each event you have attended, you have met someone who has helped you along the way. Maybe it's a teacher, or an FFA advisor, a coach, or an upperclassman. Those mentors and leaders are the reasons you will be successful in your future. Together makes you unstoppable. Helen Keller, a woman who is blind and deaf, alone could do so little. But with a little bit of help from her mentor, together they could do so much. Helen's determination helped her communicate her passion with the outside world. What are you passionate about? Maybe you're passionate about music, sports, or like me, agriculture. Sometimes we need that extra push, like Helen's mentor did for her, to help us find our passion. So please, let me, Jody Mauser, help you find your passion as your 2018-2019 state reporter. And together, we can do so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Will the first candidate please be escorted back to the stage? We will now have 2 questions for the reporter candidates. A question will be asked to a specific candidate. When complete, the second candidate will answer the question. You will have 1 minute to answer each question.
Cody, if elected to office, what would be your main goal?
If elected to office, my main goal would be able to help introduce the special needs population into FFA. I have a huge passion of working with special needs students in my community, and I've noticed that when we bring them in for an activity that we have called Peer FFA, they love learning about agriculture and they love having hands-on experience. And I just want to help the state of Iowa be able to introduce those students into FFA and help them learn all about it. And it could help them to become better speakers, to become better leaders, and just above all, just help the state of Iowa and maybe even nationally to help accept these students into our blue corduroy jackets.
Jody, if elected to office, what would be your main goal?
If I was elected to office, my main goal would be to share my story with those around me, because my favorite thing to do is hear your story. We all have a passion and we all love to share it. Sometimes we might not have the same passion, but we have similar interests. And just hearing those stories excites me, because we're all here today because we have a passion for something. So that's what I want to do if I was elected.
Jody, what makes you more qualified to be a state officer than the other candidate on the ballot?
What makes me more qualified? I believe that I'm not any more qualified than anyone else here, because we are all here today because, like I said before, we all have a passion and we all went through this process, and here we are standing in front of you guys today. So I believe we all have an equal opportunity and we all deserve to be here today. Thank you.
Cody, what makes you more qualified to be a state officer than the other candidate on the ballot?
Just like my friend Jody just stated, she did a very excellent job at describing the same thing I was thinking. We all went through the same process last week, and we all endured the same amount of interviews just as everybody else, which automatically means that we're all qualified to be able to run this position and to be able to enjoy the Iowa FFA Association. Also, I just want to say that everyone who ran did a fantastic job, and that we all deserve the best of luck that can come to us, and that I believe that everyone has the opportunity to be a leader in the state of Iowa.
Thank you. Please escort the candidates back to the holding area. We will now vote on the office of reporter. Nominating committee members, please distribute the ballots of the office of reporter. As a reminder, the candidates were Cody Holdeman of the Pella FFA chapter and Jody Mauser of the East Buchanan FFA chapter. Please be respectful while voting by not conferring with other delegates. Please cast your ballot at this time. Will the nominating committee please collect the ballots?
The Secretary's desk has one announcement at this time. To begin preparing for the state vice president elections, would the sections of 105, 110, 112, 132, 134, and 139 please be cleared at this time? Again, if you are sitting in sections 105, 110, 112, 132, 134, or 139, please clear those sections at this time. Thank you.
We will now vote on the offices of State Vice President. Once everyone has arrived at the breakout area, the candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to present a speech. Following the speeches, the nomination committee members will proceed to ask 2 questions. Questioning will alternate first responses among candidates. As the vice presidents represent their respective districts, only delegates from those districts will vote on their vice president. To achieve this, we will separate the delegate body, sending each district to a different holding area to hear the speeches of their candidates. The same rules apply to the election of the vice presidents as the reporter and secretary. 2 minutes to speak and 1 minute to answer each question. A nominating committee member from the respective district will be responsible for asking these questions. They will ask the same questions of each candidate. When you've finished casting your ballot, we ask that you remain where you are until the results for your district have been confirmed. At that time, members of the Courtesy Corps will escort you back to the delegate session so we can conclude this session. As I dismiss you, the Courtesy Corps members from their respective district will escort their delegate body to the respective area. At this time, the Northwest delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 139. Yes.
Northwest District will be reporting to section 134 as listed on the screen.
At this time, the Northeast delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 105. At this time, the Southwest delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 132. At this time, the Southeast delegates are now dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 112. At this time, the North Central District delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 139. At this time, the South Central delegates are dismissed. Please follow your coordinators to section 110.
The Secretary's desk has one announcement at this time. To continue with the Vice President elections, we ask that all people seated in Hilton Coliseum please remain silent for the sake of speeches. Again, all those seated in Hilton Coliseum, please remain silent to continue with the Vice President's speeches and elections. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, have all of the ballots been counted?
Yes, Mr. President, and there are no revotes.
Congratulations, you have selected your 2018-2019 Iowa State Officer team. The results of the elections will be announced in the 4th General Session. We hope that you stay and see the collective results of your individual vote. On behalf of the Iowa FFA Association, we cannot thank you enough for your time and effort spent here today. Our Constitution states that state delegates are required to meet once a year to set dues and conduct other association business. This is a vital piece of our annual state leadership conference. Madam Secretary, do you have a record of any further business which should now be transacted?
I have none, Mr. President.
Does any member know of any new or unfinished business which should properly come before this meeting? We are about to adjourn the business session of the 90th Iowa FFA Leadership Conference. As we mingle with others, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the game of life. Fellow members and guests, please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now declare this session adjourned.
Of better days. I can, we will be the change we want to see. I can, we will step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy. We're all different, we're all unique. But when we come together, we can't be beat. Create a bigger impact. In fact, if I believe we can, we will be the change we want to see. I am powerful, you are powerful. Add it up and we're unstoppable. Together we're stronger than as individuals. Achieve a common goal. Unbelievable. I can, we will be the change we want to see. I can, we will step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will be the change we want to see. Be the change we want to see. Step up and leave a legacy. I can, we will be the change we want to see.
secretary's desk has one announcement at this time. Would all of you who are seated in Hilton Coliseum please exit at this time? Thank you. Again, would all those seated in Hilton Coliseum please exit at this time for our laser show test? You'll be able to re-enter the Coliseum at 1 p.m. for the FFA talent show. Thank you.